Hi everybody, welcome back. A bit of a long delay in videos, so apologies for that, and thank you to the 620 of you who've stuck with me. That's great to see. We've had a fair bit of growth. It's been really good, so thank you ever so much for all that. We've had a bit of a bumpy year so far with the locomotives and in the workshop, and I want to just bring you up to speed with where we are. So I think at the beginning of the year, or the last video on the manor, I mentioned that we'd been invited up to an event. So what that was to the Rydal Society of Model Engineers, which I'm a member of, up in Gilling in North Yorkshire. Now, I first went there when I think it was my 21st birthday present. My dad bought me a driver experience day there. It was the first time I ever drove a steam engine, and it was just absolutely incredible. From that moment on, I knew at some stage in my life I needed to own my own 5-inch gauge engine and take it up to Gilling and run one of their events. So as a member, they have done they're planning to do a number of days running basically scale trains, but without the timetables. So basically you can go up there, try your engine out, make sure it's fit for purpose, all that kind of thing, get a feel for running under signalling, marshalling trains, running trains, all the wonderful stuff. And it was a fantastic day. The caveat to that is, unfortunately, the 9F, we had a bit of a problem, but we'll go into that in some more detail in this video. That has meant a fair amount of work doing to the engine. The manor's had to sit and wait, so I've got a plan for that, and I'll try and release sort of a shortened video of some of the work I did previous to all this. But yeah, so we went up to Gilling, had a wonderful day. I've got a tiny bit of footage I can show you. It'll be obvious when you listen to it that the engine isn't performing as it should do or has done. So yeah, we've had some problems, and we'll go into those now. At this stage, so this is late May bank holiday, I'm recording this. We're most of the way through sorting out the issues. In fact, we're on the last kind of leg, but I'll just walk you through the sort of first stage. This might be a couple of videos because there's loads of stuff going on. I've done some work to the engine, changed my mind, changed what I wanted to achieve, and then I've just had to go from there and basically say, okay, it's taken a long time. Obviously, I'm not doing this full time. Got a full time job, family commitments, all that kind of thing. So yeah. But anyway, we'll get into it. So right then, here we are. As you can probably see, for those who know steam engines and those who don't, I've got her all stripped down. I've got a little pointer, we'll just work through this. So one of my aims over the winter period, 2024-2025, was to fit an additional lubricator. I held off, basically I couldn't find a time. I had most of the components in stock, but I held off thinking a couple of runs. That opportunity to go to Gilling was just too much to miss, too good to miss. So I thought, right, I'll hold off. However, when we got to the day, I'd ran the engine this year, sort of early, maybe late January, early February now, I can't remember. I put some footage up. I had no problems on that day. She was blowing a bit of steam by on some of the glands, we'll talk about that. But essentially, went to the day, she steamed up fine, got her onto the turntable on the site, ready to go off for my first turn. There was no timetable or anything, but you know, obviously you get allocated turn. I had a train waiting for me and all that good stuff. And essentially, she just wouldn't. She would move, but she was very laboured, and it was clear that something wasn't quite right. Anyway, so it turns out I'd actually had a seized valve since I come in. So this is a valve. It's a piston valve engine. You can't see it too well here. That's your main cylinder in there. Just drop forward a little bit. And essentially, this had all partially seized. And I think obviously the heads with the piston rings on had also, they'd basically been trapped in in the head because it hadn't been getting enough lubrication. So the engine's is an ex-Winson, although to be fair, most of it's been redeveloped, reworked, and we'll talk about a little bit of that in this video as well. She's had one lubricator on one side, a little mechanical lubricator and a little ratchet, and that fed both cylinders and valves. Something's obviously gone wrong. Maybe the linkage arms have slipped, and I'm going to address that. But I've decided, basically, I took it all apart, took all the covers off here, took the front cylinder covers off, and this was absolutely rusted solid in here. So clearly the lubrication hadn't been sufficient in the last run before I took her to Gilling. On the day, the sealing rings in the valve, little cast iron rings sitting grooves, they obviously were just allowing steam to blow past. They'd obviously seized in. And yeah, so basically she sounds like a traction engine running around. I've got a nice little bit of video I'll probably put on before I talk about all this. So yeah, essentially brought her back home. I had a wonderful day anyway. It's just a shame she didn't perform as well as she should. It's shown me a few things I want to improve on her, and this was the main one. So I came home, took all the covers off the front, took all the motion out. I've got some pictures I can put up for that because I didn't take much video at the time. Had all the cylinder cover ends off, and yeah, it was absolutely dry, and there was all sorts of like corrosion at the front. There was some corrosion at the back, and you could see basically it's dry. When I got home, I could also not just pull out the valve. So you should really be able to move these. These should move up and down as the engine rolls. No big deal. But she was very, very stiff. And I couldn't remove the valve. So I took all the motion off, took the ends off, both ends. I had to soak the valve overnight in WD-40 and oil. And then I had to just gently tap the spindle here just to get it to move. And then eventually got it out. And you can see the rings were all closed in. I've got a bit of a picture and I'll pull that up. So, what does this mean? The oiling is intermittent. She had one single mechanical ratchet type lubricator. I plan to install new ones, and essentially that is what we're going to be talking about now. So yeah, we'll get into that. So yeah, so we've had a lot of issues with the 9F. Essentially, the engine partially seized, and she had fully seized by the time I got her home back on the bench. She wouldn't roll. I had all the covers off, started to investigate, and essentially what I've come down to the conclusion is, so this is the single mechanical lubricator. Typical Winson design. It's just a little ratchet, oil goes in there. You've got a little link off the motion off one side, and basically it pumps oil via literally a little cylinder pump in there, and that feeds both cylinders with steam oil. I had it a couple of times where this would bubble over with water, and you would fill with water, and you'd like emulsify all the steam oil, which is kind of why I've not been pushing the engine too hard, because it's clear that there's been an issue. Now, one source of the issue might have been this non-return valve, which is basically just, it's got a little knurled part on it because I need to touch it, but commercially available. Basically, oil goes in one way, ball bearing sits against the seat to stop the steam pushing the oil back. While it's pumping, while the mechanical lubricator is pumping through, it should never have water or steam bypass into that. So there's two here. Well, there's two non-return valves, one in the base of this one. This one was in the line, and this one connected to like a central point where the two split off to the two sides of the engine. It overcame all that, and I guess either this is defective, although I've proven since it's not. That seems to work okay. Maybe it was just the lubricator is just not pumping enough, or it's not pumping all the time, maybe slipping and all that kind of thing, which is something we need to address in the rebuild. And it's just allowing the steam to push the oil back, fill it with water, and emulsify the oil. And so I've had this bubbling out, so the actual lid has come off. So there's that. So we had the engine stripped down. Basically, as you sit on the engine, your left-hand side as you sit on it is left, right hand side is right, port and starboard for all the shipmates in the channel. So the right hand side, which was the furthest away from this lubricator, is basically seized. I wanted to fit 2 lubricators anyway, just simply for a capacity reason. It also probably allows, if we start getting water emulsifying in one of these, at least you know which side it's from. So the plan was always along to do this, but this has kind of made me think, well, because I'd like to go back to Gilling, I'd like to run scale trains and get into all that side of things eventually. So I'm a member there, and I hopefully will be a member there for some time. I've got a few friends who I appreciate that they helped out on the day, and it's sort of a good, yeah, it's good atmosphere there. I really enjoy it. I'd like to get back there, and I want the engine to be serviceable when we go, because it's a long trip for us. So yeah, so check all that, rebuild it all, done a bit of a bench test, and then add another one. So luckily, the left-hand side of the engine is pretty straightforward. That's all there. That's all per Winson works. They did actually allow for mounting on the right-hand side, although I don't think that was ever their plan. It has made it a bit more straightforward for us. So there's been a couple of iterations of the right-hand side system. We'll just go through that now. So I had one of these. It's a John Rex mechanical lubricator, and it sits on like a, so it works via a cam. So as there's a little rod, sits in the top, pushes down on a plunger. Don't know if you can see that too well. It's just offset from the center. So as that rotates, it pushes down on a little plunger, which is all in here in bits. Nothing wrong with the actual lubricator itself. Had it all mounted up. I'll pop a picture up of it all mounted. And basically, I didn't get enough movement from the linkages to actually make it pump sufficiently. It did pump, but I wasn't too sure whether it could actually push power by the non-return valve. So where is it? Hold on. So I've bought another one of these. I've made 2 of these fittings, and again I've got some footage of us on the lathe and the milling machine and bits and stuff to add to these videos. Yeah, so it's been so it wouldn't push past this non-return valve, so I wasn't too confident it was going to be enough. And there's nothing wrong with the lubricator, it's just the amount of swing needed. So like this one, you can hear it. This one just pushes down a little push on a plunger. It's all in bits at the moment, so I didn't think there'd be enough swing. So I thought, right, there's a couple of other options, and so we've gone for this. For those of you following a particular Britannia build, you'll recognise these. And again, it's like it's a mechanical lubricator. It has little ratchets in here. Again, I've got it all in bits at the moment, so you can't make it ratchet. So I've had to modify this a little bit. There's a plate that I've made. I've also had to have a 90-degree elbow, which I've just fabricated, which is just a 40 threads per inch tap in size, and then that's all just put onto there. So basically, all the lever arms and things, which we'll show you on the engine in a moment, it'll just allow it to just tick a piece at a time. So I've had it all assembled. It all seems to work fine. It pushes it, which is the main thing. So it allows it to ratchet. I can't get it done because I've got oil on my hands. So basically now I've dismantled it all, and I'm just going to do the pipe work, which is pretty straightforward. It's basically from this 40 TPI fitting, pipe like this, go straight onto the non-return valve, which is fitted to the engine, and I'll show you through there anyway. So that's kind of the remedy to the issue. I'll show more of that probably in another video, because actually there's a bit of something I want to sort of work through, sort of a complicated part, and then probably wrap this video up. But yeah, let's just go on to the loco now, and we'll talk you through all that. So as discussed, we've just briefly been through some of the issues. apologies about some of these angles, they're not the best. Hopefully you can all see and understand what I'm trying to get to. So basically here what we've got is a valve spindle goes through here. This is all the valve guide. I've had all this off. Obviously the covers are off, you've just seen that. I managed to get the piston valve out. Two of the rings were sat in the grooves and they weren't flexing out. So I soaked it overnight, came back to it, give it a clean up, and they both kind of went back to their nominal position. So I'm pretty happy, or I was pretty happy, that the piston valve itself and the rings were all okay. I had a look through the cylinder. I haven't had all of this out, but I've not seen any major issues. The only thing I did do, just bring you around a little bit. I don't see it so well. Move it forward. So there's the piston in there. Somewhere in there. There you go. The cylinder drain cocks are just down here. And what I had is, actually I've seen this on I think it was Tom's channel, I can't remember now. The piston would cover the cylinder drain cocks. Because I always thought it strange that I didn't get much out of these cylinder drain cocks, and now I know why. The rear ones, they don't seem to cover, they're fine. So I've just cut a couple of grooves, and again, Tom showed you I do it on Tom Parnham's channel. I did both of them while these covers have been off, which was good. So yeah, don't know if that's added to the issue, I would have thought so. But hopefully that means that actually the cylinders will drain fully. So there's not like a weird area up the front. If I just move this to the front, there's front dead center somewhere there. There's a bit of room there, but it just means that it can always drain out now, no matter where the cylinder head is. So yeah, push it forward again. So valves have all been apart. There's a couple of things I'd like to do with this. This is where the new mechanical lubricator will sit. It's exactly the same on the other side, but because of the size of my workshop, I can't spin this thing around in here. I have to move the car and everything outside to do it. So I'm just going to do it this way. There are a couple of issues. Well, an issue to sort out is this. So there is a bit of slack in the way shaft. This side's not so bad. As you can see, I've got all the running boards off. There's nothing here. The deflectors are off. Part of the front's off as well to get access to the front of the cylinders. So just come forward. I'll pull that backwards. Oh, there's normally like a running board across here, all over this top of this, and all the way down. And obviously the smoke deflectors here on the engine, they've all come off. So while I've got access to everything, I thought, right, we'll fit this new mechanical lubricator. Should help mitigate the problem in the future. And now I've gone away from the John Rex version, which again, there's nothing wrong with the lubricator. It's absolutely fine. It's just during its movement, which is this linkage here, which just sat around. There's a pull the engine forward, you can see it just moving this thing here. I just didn't have enough movement as this moves to operate the lubricator correctly. So I've gone for the sort of steam fittings ratchet type. Not particularly because I wanted to do that, but it's just, I need to get lubricators both sides. The real answer is obviously displacement side feed. That seems to be what people are recommending rather than the mechanicals, but there shouldn't be anything wrong with them. And this will do it for now. And maybe we'll look at that in the future. So yeah, so we've had to make a fair few components. So we'll just go through some of them now. So I've got some bits of footage for making these things. So you got the small lever arm coming off the expansion bracket through here. You got the push rod arm through here, and then obviously when the lubricator is fitted, and again I've got some pictures and you can see the whole setup, and there's an arm that comes down here. As this moves, let's do it on the video. You see that? It does actually move, yes. As you move it, it pulls a little ratchet, which on this side pushes a little plunger down, so every time and then it'll pop back up. On the other side, it is just a little tick ratchet, and it goes from there. So there's, I'll show you that. Just a little lever arm, just milled it out, filed it up, 2 holes 9/16 apart. You've also got the drop arm here, which again, I think the 3-inch centres. There's a hole that end, and then it screws in with an adjustment that end. I did have another. Yeah, I mean the linkages are all fitted this side, but and again just 2 fork ends. And again, this is all made it all in the lathe and the milling machine as required. And that's that out there. So yeah, there's been lots going on. Some of it's been fun. I've had to do some rethinking. As I say, I got to the full stage with the John Rex lubricator, and it just didn't seem to want to pump past the non-return valve. I couldn't prove it worked. The movement was so tiny. I think they're really designed for traction engines that get a little bit more. I've seen them on locos and they've been fine, but for this sort of particular application, it just doesn't seem to want to move it enough. And without having stupidly long linkages everywhere to increase the momentum of it, it's just not going to work. So cut my losses, and we went to the back to a ratchet type. The long-term solution is probably a displacement system, but right now I can fit these and we'll get back on the road again and go from there. Right. So for now, that's where I'm going to get to. I've had everything on and off. I've still got the final build to do. There's obviously testing to do, and then probably a bench steam test, which will be good because that was one of my most popular videos. So if you get a chance, go and check that out. I'm trying a few new things actually while I'm in the workshop. I've got myself a little GoPro for my birthday, which wasn't too long ago, and I'm trying to get all that on the lathe. So I'll try to throw in some lathe footage of some of the work I've done. I've had to make all sorts of little bits and pieces. So linkage arms, fittings for the oil system. I've had to braze up some pipes. I can't remember actually what footage I've got, but I'll put some on. But as part one, I kind of wanted you to see it as far back as she's gone. As I say, all the running boards are off, while all the deflectors are off, while the front end's off, while I've got the cylinders open, while the valves are open. I'm just checking over everything. She's run absolutely fine in the past. She ran okay before I went to Gilling. I think it doesn't matter where it would gone. It's just a shame that, because I've been waiting to do that for years and I've really looked forward to it, and I still had a fantastic time. In fact, the entire family went up. It was great. I'll be back to that once she's right. I don't want to go there and get in everyone's way. That's the last thing we want, really. But she should she should run way better than she did, and we'll sort it out. So that's kind of, yeah, that's where I am. That's the kind of update for the channel so far. It's been sort of bits and bobs. A couple of evenings, I've had a few marathon sessions in here where I've made a lot of stuff and then realised I've made something wrong and I've had to go back just because of the clearances and stuff in this area for where the mechanical lubricator goes. The issues, I've made some of the lever arms a bit too short, really, because I was really kind of wanted to have it a little more scale than they are, or as like the Les Warnock drawings that are up there that I've recently got copies of. Yeah, I was hoping to have it a bit further on than it is, and I've made a few simple mistakes. And welcome to modern engineering. That's what you do. You, as I say, quite a few times you'll have a box of bits while you're trying to learn to do something new for the first time that you've made and are just rubbish, really. Well, not rubbish, but they just don't fit for one reason or another, or you change your mind on something. It's just the way it goes. But yeah, hopefully soon. Going to get all the mechanical lubricators both sides rebuilt and refitted. I think I have all the components. They all should fit now. I've just got to make the 2 final pipes basically from the mechanical lubricator points up into the non-return valves on both the inlet steam pipes. Yeah, and that should really close it off. Yeah, it's been good actually in many ways. I wanted to do this over the winter and I never got around to it. I've kind of had to make the time. So there's no running footage for the last 3-4 months. So the last time she ran was at Gilling, hoping to get her on an air test on the bench, which we've done in the past. But this time she should have way more power in her because she should be fully lubricated. The valves and the pistons have had time to bed in. I've sorted a few bits out on the motion in the past that we've done work on. And then I might steam test her on the bench just to make sure, because obviously she's been sat a couple of months now. Although to be fair, she's been rolling up and down quite a bit. Just want to test everything out, make sure she's right before I take her to the track, the local track. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there, I think. So I'll keep this as part one. There's still loads of stuff to. It's all got to go back together. Got to do the tests. Plenty of opportunity to put footage on. So yeah, brilliant. So yeah, that's what's been going on for the last couple of months with the 9F. I have an interim video on the Manor. I haven't been able to do anything on that, as you probably appreciate. Most of the time it spends its day recently buried in tools and boxes and bits with bits in, and all this stuff that's come off and sort of machining. There's swarf everywhere. I need a really good tidy up through, but that ain't going to come just yet. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much to everyone whose comments, who subscribed. I've got 620 now, which is fantastic. Thank you ever so much. Big shout out to all the people who have subscribed recently, even those I've forced to subscribe at work. So thank you all, appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully I'll speak to you all soon. Cheers for now. Bye.